Is anybody that says they can't or don't have the resource or the opportunity or the mentor or the whatever to learn something, you can learn anything on YouTube. It's everybody's biggest problem is the biggest problem to them. A 9-year-old with an RPG pointed at their striker, that's a big problem. Mm-hmm. This horse that is an asshole today, you know, that I'm trying to get started and is still bucking on ride 8. You know, that's a second world problem, you know, or so it's a perspective. I would love to see Tin Top be huge, profitable, very, very big, so that it can make a positive impact.
Welcome back to the Wealthy Cowboy Show. I'm Crockett Carruthers. I got a real interesting guest on today, Dusty Whitford, Whitford Colt Company, also HorsePro TV, and they recently created a TV series, but it's not going to be exactly on TV. I don't know how to describe that, but Tin Top.
Yeah, TV's not TV anymore.
Yeah, it's a whole new deal. So it's I don't know how you describe it, but a new show anyway.
Yep.
That's cool. Dusty, you mainly specialize in starting colts, and I guess 2-year-olds, right?
Yeah,
and
2-year-old cutting horses.
Cutting horses.
Yep.
You do cow horses at all, or just cutters?
Yeah, we've got a few. About a quarter of them move on to the cow horse, move on to the snaffle bit futurity. They're all started the same. So
yeah.
Yep.
Where did all that come from? When you were a kid, you broke horses too, right? Out of necessity.
Yeah, because we couldn't afford trainers.
Yeah.
So I was breaking them at like 10. You know, like any good young cowboy. I was out of necessity, and but we grew up in showing horses, right? Like the reiners and the Western pleasure horses and stuff on the coast up in Washington State. And as soon as you get your driver's license, you kind of check out of that a little bit as a young man.
Yeah.
So I came back to it, and I wanted to be involved in horses, and I just kind of said it one day, just kind of my thing. I just wanted to pursue, something different.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to train cutting horses. And somebody said, you've never been on a cutting horse, And I was like, not till I've been on one, right? So, so I started pursuing it. Yeah, in my 20s.
Let's go back. So you're a kid growing up, you starting horses, riding horses. What were you doing then? Like, what were y'all, were you showing horses, ranching on horses? Have you ever asked yourself why it costs so much to get paid? Hey everyone, this is a show that has a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners on, and the number one rule in business is to get paid, right? If you own a business, there's a good chance you're overpaying for credit card processing, and there's an even better chance that you're getting terrible customer service. At Diversified Payments, we make the payment process simple for both the customer and the business. Being based in Central Texas, we're able to offer business owners personal customer service while saving them money on their credit card processing fees. And we're the only payment company that I know of that's deeply rooted in the ranching and rodeo industries. If you think you're paying way too much in card processing fees, or you can't get in touch with your payment processor when there's an issue, go to diversifiedpayments.com/wealthycowboy.
Yeah, fancy pleasure horses. And it, at the time when you're, if you're 15 or 16-year-old guy, you probably don't love it, but you certainly develop some hands that, have served me as a cutting trainer now.
Right.
Right.
Got a lot of horsemanship out of it.
Yeah, there's a huge benefit to it. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, with the pleasure, it's not necessarily cowboy, I guess, but the fundamentals are the same, having control of your horse.
Yeah, and we're talking the 80s and 90s, so like some of those guys would tell, well, my parents, their first big horse was this Poco Bueno stud who had, national championships at the time, his paint horse, national championships in cutting, reining, Western pleasure, hunter under saddle, halter, like they did it all, so it was still, the end of that era, but
yeah, it's cool listening to those
functional horses.
Listening to those old trainers talk, they they were just horse trainers. They wouldn't have cutting horse trainer, cow horse trainer. They just took a horse and did something with it.
Whatever they could get their hands on. Yep.
So how did that progress? You kind of lost interest in it. What was that in college or something?
Yeah, I just went to college like anybody else. Yeah, I went to school and got out of horses and came back to it.
Yeah.
I lived in the city for a year. Had an apartment.
How was that?
It's terrible. God, I have no idea.
Not cut out for it, huh?
No idea how people do that. Yeah.
How did you jump back into it? Were you still in Washington and you just started working for a trainer or just went and bought some horses?
Yeah, I went and bought a horse. So I went and bought a cheap horse. And so we talked about this. If anybody that says they can't or don't have the resource or the opportunity or the mentor or the whatever to learn something, you can learn anything on YouTube. Anything. So I started building myself a horse for a resume. Katie, the founder of Air Yacht, she's in Washington. And she sent me one of her cutting horses to just leg up. And she told me, she's like, you can't cut on her. And she said, if you really want to be in this industry, if you ever get the chance to work for Bill Riddle in Oklahoma, he's the teacher's teacher, right? The coach. And you work for Bill Riddle. And so I spent this year, learning on YouTube, year and a half maybe, learning on YouTube and training this horse. And the horse never went on to do anything. I sold it, and somebody's probably sorted on it or something, But it gave me that resume. And then, a year or something later, I got this Facebook message from a guy. And he said, I heard you want to work in the cutting industry someday. I'm an assistant for Bill Riddle and I'm leaving. Do you have any interest in working for Bill Riddle? And I'm like,
Yeah.
And so, flew down, interviewed, flew back, packed up, moved to Oklahoma.
Okay.
Yeah. And he asked me one day, he said, Dusty, you're green as grass, but you knew enough that I hired you. He goes, I never asked who you worked for in YouTube. Where'd you learn in Washington or in who you worked for in Washington and who you learned from? And I said, YouTube. And he's like, bullshit. Who'd you learn from? I'm like, YouTube. And so that's probably where the whole, training the HorsePro business officially started, if I think back on it.
Yeah, because it's how you learned.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, I say that all the time, it's not about the resources you have, it's about how resourceful you are. So if you want to be a horse trainer.
Boy, there's a quote right there. Put that quote on something. I know I'm going to see that in a few days. It's not about the resource, it's about how resourceful.
Right. I mean, I don't know where that came from. I've heard it somewhere, and I believe it to be true because just like you said, you were not set up for success. You just bought a horse, started watching YouTube. You can do that in business. You can do that with going to the gym, with sports, with horses, with anything.
Yeah, I mean, Washington State on the coast. I was out slopping around in the mud. We had this one, we bought one, we could afford one cow. We bought this Corriini calf. I had people chasing around on foot with hot shots, making this cow move. And what's really funny is a couple of guys commented on it one day. They saw it in cutting from Texas, and some of the big guys, and they were laughing at me, pretty good. And my second job, that's where I went to work. It was with them. And I was like, hey, you remember a video like years ago with some idiot chasing around this cow with a hot shot? That's me.
Whatever works, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you still obviously learned the fundamentals and got to kind of the same place as everybody else did, even though they had better resources. And I think, there's something to be said. You see people like that. You see like immigrants and these people that don't have anything. They have a drive to do whatever it is.
Figure it out. Yeah. The resources are there. They're just hard to get and hiding probably.
Mm-hmm. So how did that progress? You took the leap of faith. Were you just training horses for a living up there in Washington before you came to Bill Riddle's?
No, you just do it. Nobody in Washington's training horses for a living. You got to have a job.
What were you doing up there?
what was I doing? I was selling cedar. I was selling lumber. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you quit your job. I'm sure your horse training gig, flying across the country. I'm sure it wasn't like lucrative pay. You were probably starting out real low.
You're making like $1,500 a month.
Yeah. And you just decided to take the leap. This is where you're going. This is what you wanted to do.
Yeah. I got really lucky when I came down too, like not knowing, I mean, you can go, the fork in the road is many different prongs. And I just got lucky in who I picked to work for. I was guided to Bill Riddle's, and then from there I went to the Center Ranch, and Charles Dorsey was the head 2-year-old guy. Ronnie Rice is the head trainer. So I'm learning from the best of the best. And then I did a short stint at Don Pooley's, another old school cow horse guy. Winston Hansma, showed dual pep, trained City Olena, like best of the best, and that introduced me to Paul Hansma, who I think is the best to ever participate in the sport of cutting. I mean, the best ever, period. And so those are my mentors in my employment history. And so I just got lucky working for these like old school cow horse guys. And so I got lucky on the path that I picked.
I mean, was it luck, or were you like trying to go to those places?
No, it was luck. Yeah.
Definitely luck.
I didn't know anything. Still don't.
But that's, there's something to be said right there too, is like, I've really changed my mindset over the years. When I got out of school, I was kind of looking for a job, didn't know what I was going to do. And you could go get these assistant horse trainer, or, working for a horse trainer, whatever the job was, for a cutter, a cow horse person. Really cutters back in the day. The cow horse wasn't that big down here yet. But yeah, like $1,500 a month. You're working 7 days a week, long hours. I'm like, this sounds terrible. I do not want to do that. I can go day work and make $1,500 in 10 days, or whatever. But if it's a job that you're wanting to make a career out of, and you can go to the right places, obviously there's a bunch of bad ones, but like you said, if you can go to those greats and work, and you're going to get paid, that is a great opportunity to take. You wanted to be in the cutting horse industry, so you probably would have paid at some point, if you had any money, would have paid to go work under those people or be around them. And there are people that do that. Yep. So you're getting paid and learning. So you're earning and learning at the same time, which is the way to go if you can.
You would pay for it. And in the future, I mean, I don't want to be making my income off horses the rest of my life, because I mean, I'm going to break in half at some point. If the TV show, which we'll talk about, if that comes to fruition, I'm still going to be training cutting horses. I might be riding half as many. I might be riding 6 to 8 a day, but I don't care how wealthy that made me.
Yeah.
I'm going to be training cutting horses for a living, doing 2-year-olds.
Yeah. And you gotta,
I'd pay to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I started thinking about that, and it changes your perspective and gives you a lot more gratitude if you can look at that, like whether you're out punching cows in the 110 degree, July day, and dust and mosquitoes and flies and all that stuff, or cleaning out a horse stall, whatever it is. You just got to think, like, if you zoom out, there's city people that pay to go to these dude ranches and go do this stuff, pay thousands of dollars to go experience this stuff, and you're getting paid to do it.
Yeah. Have you seen our Bramer cow, Greta? Yeah. So we're thinking of leasing her out by the hour for like cow cuddling.
Yeah.
And so people can just,
I've seen that.
You can just hold her big old head, and she'll belch on them and
do like a cow yoga class.
I think it's just the greatest. Yeah, cuddles with Greta.
And then the next brimmer they see, they're probably gonna go try to pet it, and it's gonna kill them. Yeah. They're like, oh, these are so cute and gentle. Not quite.
No.
So there's a couple things in your story there I think we're kind of skipping over. At one point there, you were in the military, right?
Yeah, 7 years.
What was that? Were you deployed? Were you full-time in that? Were you in the reserves?
Yeah, I joined the reserves.
Okay.
And No, it didn't work out. I joined the reserves very on purpose, the Washington National Guard, very on purpose, because the unit that I joined was deployed while I'm in basic training and AIT and stuff. And then I'd come home, and 3 years later, I'd get my deployment. They'd get out of me what they want. I'd get what I want in a 6-year contract, and do one deployment, and great. And it never worked out. We kept getting deployed midway through as expected, and those missions kept getting scrubbed.
So you're wanting to get deployed?
Yeah, who doesn't? Yeah, I mean, that's what we trained for. So, yeah, and gosh dang, I signed up for every deployment in the country, like every open deployment in the country, and couldn't buy one. And then I got the job with Bill Riddle before my 6 years was up, right before. So I did an interstate transfer to Oklahoma, and that unit was just coming home from deployment. And the moment I leave Washington, surprise deployment to Afghanistan. And I'm like, what in the hell? So I don't know. I guess, it wasn't meant to be.
Wasn't meant to be, huh?
I wasn't supposed to go. But yeah, no, I couldn't buy a deployment. I tried. It wasn't for lack of trying.
And so that lifestyle, you're kind of living two lives there. I remember the marketing deal came out early 2000s, mid 2000s or whatever. It was like that Matchbox 20 song, I think, or Three Doors Down, whoever it was, Citizen Soldier. That was basically you, right? I guess you were riding horses, working a real job, and then doing that also. Yeah,
weekend warrior, 2 weeks in the summer, which was never 2 weeks in the summer, by the way. That was always, at least a month. They would get you. Yeah. So it's super hard to balance the two.
Yeah.
That's
cool.
Bill talked to me about that too, because I wasn't getting out. Bill was like, you got to make a choice, man. You can't do both. You can work a regular job in the city and do both. You can go be a cop, or they'll support the heck out of it.
Right.
So you can have a long career in the military, but he's like, training horses is not going to happen and being in the military at the same time.
The horses need to be rode and fed every day.
He's absolutely right. So, I had signed a 1-year extension, so I finished that out when I was with Bill and Oklahoma National Guard, and trained with them. And we were combat engineers, so IED detection, road clearance, go look for explosives.
Yeah.
Washington, same thing, and training Afghans in Washington. Afghans fly into Fort Lewis, over to Yakima. Yakima is the biggest land installation in the U.S. Yakima, Washington's base. So the Afghans fly over there, and it looks just like Afghanistan. It's all bare desert, mountain, So it looks just like Afghanistan. They drop them off. We train them. Try to train them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
How can you relate a lot of that you learned in that to your horse training, to all the things you're doing? Like I hear a lot of guys come out and they're super disciplined. They have routines down, and they...
Yeah, so what it does, first world problems versus second world problems. Everybody's biggest problem is the biggest problem to them, and to a veteran, and I didn't even get to experience it, but to a veteran, so I can imagine them as even, the combat veteran, it's even more so, like their biggest problem is a 9-year-old with an RPG pointed at their striker. That's a big problem. This horse that is an asshole today, that I'm trying to get started and is still bucking on ride 8, that's a second world problem, or so it's a perspective that veterans have, that a lot of people do not. Also makes us kind of hard to relate sometimes, but that's a separate problem. But it gives you a perspective of the difference between real problems and not real problems.
Yeah, what's life changing and life threatening, as opposed to something that's no big deal, really.
Yeah. First world problems. Right now, it's veteran suicide that's a first world problem.
Right.
That I could put in perspective. That's a That's a real problem. I don't know anybody. I don't have any friends that have died in combat. I don't know anybody that died in combat in that role. Every military funeral I've been to has been suicide. 100% of them.
And that's something you want to change, right?
There's a first world problem. Yeah, I'll be really blunt. The reason why it's not changing, or homeless veterans doesn't change or won't change, if we cared, there wouldn't be homeless veterans.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't affect people personally, right? People change things if it affects them personally. So, yeah, I want to change it. So we have our little part, I hope, in helping alleviate that situation, and that's close to me, because when I got out of the military, or when I finished my apprenticeships, there was a period post-military and apprenticeships with cutting horses where I lived in my truck. So I was homeless when I started out on my own training cutting horses. So it hits close to home. So we work with groups to do our part. The two worst things I think for a veteran are, one, the fastest way to kill one is to send them to the VA. Go get those benefits, And the second way is to sit around and talk about it all day. Sit around and talk about your damn feelings. This is the last thing veterans need, is to sit around and talk about our feelings.
Yeah.
What was really cool on the set of Tin Top was when we filmed military scenes and all the veterans got together, and it's a scene in Afghanistan. Everybody's in uniform, shaved, on point, and a whole bunch of them came up to us afterwards and said, this was so needed. I haven't put my uniform on in 4 years, 5 years, hung out with the guys, drank beer, and acted vulgar in so long. They're like, I needed this so bad, and I didn't even know. That's what veterans need. So,
yes, I mean, you just put in an extreme environment and then come back and expect to just go back to normal.
It doesn't work. Yeah.
Let's go to that living in your truck. When was that?
Yeah. So, I got divorced, and so I followed my son across the country. So what is that? 18 or 19. I have so many head injuries that my memory is. So I'll get as close as I can on specifics. 2018 or 2019, I moved back to Washington to try to start training cutting horses. But that was just out of I wouldn't have moved back if my son wasn't across the country.
Right.
Yeah.
You'd already worked for all these other guys down here?
Yep. Bill Riddle, Center Ranch, and Don Pooley.
You had a little bit figured out then to go out on your own? Yeah.
And then you get out on your own, and that's when you figure out that you don't know anything. Yeah, because nobody's there to harp on you or tell you what you're doing wrong. Or you find out immediately that you don't know anything about training horses. Yeah.
And then the business side too is a whole nother aspect that a lot of people don't think of, and billing and hauling and overhead and all that stuff. So what you moved back up there to be close to your son. Did you have any clients lined up or anything, or a place to lease or anything like that?
Yeah, great lady Allison Trimble let me park. I don't know, live there in Ferndale, Washington, and she's a cow horse trainer, turned real estate agent, and so she had her outdoor pen, So I got a client or two, and away we went.
All in at that point? That's all you were going to do is ride horses, or were you?
That was the goal.
Did you have to get another job or anything?
That was the goal. Yeah, horses.
And how long? So, I've heard this story. You were sleeping in your truck. You went to a truck stop every night? Slept in your truck?
Yeah, some nights. Yeah.
Kind of just bounced around?
Just wherever. Yeah.
Pretty mobile.
Yeah. Because I did the same thing when I moved back to Texas too. Because I moved down here, showed in the fraternity, and stayed, and found a place to lease, and then just, where are you living? I'm like, at my place. Don't worry about it. I just slept at the McDonald's parking lot, and there's Yeah, there's the homeless guy in a van, like a broke down van. And he had all these cats, like 50 cats, like an obscene amount of cats. So it's just
Like, what are you doing with all these cats?
Yeah, it's just me and this crazy guy and his cats, I don't talk to him.
Well, that's funny. But it's crazy. Like, when you're young, it doesn't make a difference. Like, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, you probably didn't think of like, man.
Yeah, I was in my mid 30s. I mean, it's not that impressive.
But you're like, you probably didn't think it stunk that bad. You're like,
no, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear Brad Lee talk about his story, and he left home when he was a kid, and at some point in his life he was homeless, and he just slept on the beach. He was in California, so he just hang out all day and then just build a campfire at night or whatever and sleep on the beach. And they're like, oh, that had to be terrible,
Yeah.
And he was like, I was living on the beach. What are you talking about?
It's not that bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eating off the dollar menu at McDonald's for a while, though. If you don't have any money. Yeah, I look like an Ethiopian marathoner, like just skin and bones up here and this like
a little
big
gut
old belly. Yeah. Just a chemical belly.
Yeah, that's when you gotta scrape change out of your change jar, where you throw it in your pickup and go buy some tacos for 99 cents at Jack in the Box.
Yeah, but Shayna, my wife, she thought I was good looking still, so
yeah, that's
or
crazy.
She saw something, I don't know.
You got a girlfriend while you're living in your truck.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, we're in my place. Took you back to my place.
Yeah.
First date.
How did that work? Were you like up front, like, I am just living in my truck right now on the first date, first time y'all met, or what?
I don't think I told her right away. She hired me. She was the secretary of the Rain Cow Horse Association in Oregon. She hired me to do a clinic. Yeah. And so I went and did the clinic, and that was, we've talked and been together every day since.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
She used to drive her. I was on the coast training, then I went to Ellensburg, so Central, and like I kept moving closer to Eastern Washington and cows and stuff. When I was in Ellensburg, she would drive her Jeep Cherokee over on the weekends because you can't stretch out in the backseat of the truck, So then we could put the thing back at the backseat, forward in the Cherokee, so I could stretch my legs out and get a couple nights of full 5'11" sleep, And this one time we had these customers come from Idaho, and we couldn't have anybody stay at the ranch we were training out of. And so they said they were going to go to KOA. And I was like, awesome, right? So we go to the truck stop and go to sleep. And in the morning, we wake up and we're like, oh, shit. Like, wake up. They're parked right next to us. And so they're just sleeping at the truck stop next to us. And there's a breakfast place. So we're like, who's getting breakfast? It's stupid.
Yeah, I guess you can definitely say she's not a gold digger then.
Nah, no, she's the closest thing to Jesus on earth. She's the nicest person in the world. Yeah. So
at what point did you get back down here?
Yeah, we came down for the futurity to show a horse, and so I think that was 19. I think that was the 19 futurity. So in November of 19.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And been here ever since.
Yeah.
Moved out of your truck by now?
Yeah, but like we got a house. We leased a place with a house, and it's the very first house I've ever lived in. That's like attached to the ground, And so we were like,
didn't have wheels.
Yeah, we need like homeless Wednesdays or something where we sleep in the truck. It took me like 3 weeks to be able to sleep in the house. And it's an ungodly house. Like it's way too much house for us. It just happened to be on the property we leased. Mm-hmm. But it's a really fancy house. And so it's pretty uncomfortable in there sometimes.
You got to get back, just go sleep on the porch sometimes, get back to your roots.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when did HorsePro TV come about?
Yeah. So before I went to Bill Riddle's, I would put little training tips on Instagram to just help like a trail rider. And I did that because I grew up in the Northwest where you don't have access, or you don't feel like you have access to the professionals that we see we grew up in the Quarter Horse Journal and the Western Horseman, and we didn't have access to those people. And the reason why we felt like we didn't have access is because we don't have access. We didn't have access back then, right? So you get out of Washington State, and that's a pretty big deal to, the horse community. Like, you're going to Texas, you're going to the center of Texas too. You're going to the horse community in Texas. That's pretty cool. So I'd start putting little tips on Instagram to help whomever, a trail rider, whatever I learned, you know? And so that's what grew Instagram and grew and grew and grew. And then, you're like, well, how can we do this on a bigger scale and monetize it a little bit? Right. And that's where HorsePro was born, the idea of a training channel. But I bought a Chris Cox DVD 4 or 5 years ago, right before HorsePro, on colt starting. And it was like 90 minutes of perfect, right? And I was like, well, yeah, when I do it and it works perfect, that's what it looks like too. We do the exact same thing. I'm like, what does Chris Cox do when it doesn't work perfect? Everybody wants to know what Chris Cox does when it doesn't go perfect, right? So that's where the idea came from, was these unedited views of the industry and seeing we follow specific horses through their whole programs, and cow horse reining, cutting, barrel racing, all of it, right? So getting to see a trainer's full program from A to B. That's one of the biggest reasons that young trainers don't succeed, is bouncing around from trainer to trainer, not getting a full program and trying to piece it together. And so that was the idea. I think we're starting year 4 in April of the website.
Started in 2020.
I think so. Yeah.
Roughly.
Again, yeah, I think.
So you just saw a need there and drew back on your experiences and kind of something you would like, and decided to put it out there. How does that process work? How are y'all, did it just start with you and showing your program and it's grown since then?
Yeah, just the colt starting. And that's what I said to Shana in the beginning. I'm like, see, so how arrogant would it be to think that there's, whatever, maybe how arrogant would it be to think there's 10,000 people that want to watch Dusty Whitford start colts? That's stupid. I feel like there's probably 4.
Yeah.
And they're weirdos, Yeah. So let's go get a host in each discipline, every discipline, put them all together. And then who am I? I'm a little guy. And let's support all those people that want to learn, and let's support a trainer. Let's go find a limited open trainer, not the guy that's already there. Let's find the guy who builds the 2-year-olds for that guy. And let's show how it's done from the grassroots, right? So we brought in these trainers that are on their way up, starting out or on their way up. And that's been really cool, because then we've watched the trainers grow into very, very successful businesses, and,
helping you grow, and it's helping the people. It's a win-win-win. Y'all started branching out, right? Different disciplines and showing different areas on there. Yeah.
We're about to branch out even more. So I'm going to go to West Texas and connect with Paxton Ramsey and talk about roping, ranch roping, and stock dog training and all kinds of stuff. Ranch versatility, barrels, reining, cutting, cow horse, colt starting, groundwork, ranch roping, stock dog training. And now we're going to start adding in mini series. So we are going to be traveling around with a whole bunch of different limited open type trainers and getting enough from them to get a pretty good snapshot of their program, 8 to 10 episodes following a horse. Not just 2 videos. This is how I turn horses around. That is what confuses people, and what websites do to confuse people. So we're going to start adding in the mini series. And so the first one's being filmed right now. Robert Rush and the cow horse, who just made his very first Hackamore finals at the World Show here last week. And so we'll show like 8 to 10 episodes of him and add those to the cow horse series, the barrel series, whomever's up and coming. I would love to highlight their programs.
So are you looking for more trainers to put on there?
Absolutely.
Any discipline?
Any. Dressage. All of it, yeah.
I mean, anybody, I've talked about this before, about posting on social media and building a brand and getting your name out there is whatever your viewpoints are or your hobbies or interest or job is, there's more people out there that are just like you.
Yeah.
You're never alone. There's a crap load of people in this world. And
we'll never
there's gonna be other people out there that think exactly like you and interested in the exact same thing. So like we say dressage because it's foreign to us, but there is lots of the population that love dressage, and that's all they know.
Yeah, and I've never had any Western pleasure stuff on, and I'm happy to include it. That's the whole point of our entire website, is to create a community of people who feel welcome in the horse industry. Because the single biggest reason people say that they don't get involved in the horse industry to us on our website?
Afraid they're going to get judged.
Horse people. It's horse people. That's the single big. Why don't you get involved in horses? Horse people. That's what they say. That's what they say on the website. That's what they say to us personally. Yeah. So how silly is it to nobody likes the Western pleasure industry from any other industry. They rag on it because their horses lope slow and they don't like the way they look and whatever. So all you're doing is just joining with PETA and other freak show animal rights groups. Horse people will be the death of horse people. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's definitely a huge thing, is you got to zoom out and look at what you have in common with somebody instead of how you're divided.
Absolutely.
You can do that to any situation. I grew up rodeoing, and then I was a ranch cowboy, still am, but you kind of get divides within our own industry, just like you're saying, is oh, they're barrel racers, they're crazy, they're team ropers, they're whatever, they're English riders, they're weird, and you get divided. But you need to zoom out and say, hey, we all love horses, we all love agriculture, we all love rodeo or horse shows or whatever it is. And if we don't all come together, then the other side is united.
That's it.
And they're fighting against all of us, not just one section.
It baffles me to see horse people make fun of horse people. That is so bizarre to me to watch that. Hell, they'll do it inside their own industry. Cutters making fun of cutters, I mean, that's unfortunately, but and I grew up in the Northwest, so I thought cutting people were so nice because they are up there. And now, I'm sorry, guys, but when we go to Fort Worth, that's a joke of my wife. She's like, we walk around and she goes, well, must be at a cutting. Nobody will talk to us, they walk past you and, what's up with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely different. That's a huge deal. In America, as a human race, you got to zoom out. Find what you have in common with somebody else.
Absolutely.
And share that.
30,000 foot view.
Whether you're black or white or brown or whatever, we're all humans. We're all, Texans. We're all Americans. I mean, it depends on how far you want to zoom out. It's America versus Russia, or, zoom all the way out and say it's the human race versus the aliens,
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to find common ground, and that'll definitely help you in life in any aspect.
I'm gonna shake an alien's hand in this lifetime.
Getting closer all the time. How does HorsePro, was that a huge jump? I mean, you're filming, you're producing, you're doing all that. Did you have to learn all that, or you just went and found the people, or what'd that look like?
Yeah, we just Googled it, literally we'll take the TV show. Just Google how to make a TV show, and start from there. And then the worst thing you could do is keep it to yourself, right? So start asking questions, including as many people as we can. HorsePro is logistically my wife's deal, right? The filming, the editing, the business. I've got to be on the back of horses, right? So yeah, that's her deal, and her 40 hours. 40 hours. She's going to hate that. That's her 80 hours a week. And then she has to come help me in the cutting pen. And I'm the ideas, and that's my personality. Babe, I mean, imagine this 2 years ago. Babe, you know what we should do? What? We should make our own TV show. And she just goes, okay. And then she figures that like she's the
Start taking action towards it.
She's the action. She starts helping me bring my ideas to fruition.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Google that and get the right people involved. Josiah Baldwin on Facebook. He's our DP, our cinematographer, and he's in a Facebook group of these film people. Film people crack me up. Hey, sorry in there, but what a bunch of nerds that make fun of you on Facebook. So you ask a question in these film forum groups as a nobody, as somebody doesn't know something, and oh my God, film nerds unite. And they make fun of your ass on there so hard. And Josiah comes in, he's like, just ignore these people. And he answers all Shayna's questions, right? And he's a commercial DP out of East Texas. And so because he's so nice, guess what happens? So, hey, by the way, we didn't say, we're making a TV show. Can we hire you to, so he
Got himself a job.
He gets a big job out of it, by being nice to us. And so just include the right people. And then is it very, very, very hard? Yeah, it was very hard. And like, we didn't sleep more than like 1 hour or 2 hours during production for like 7 days. And then you're just like crying and shit. It's horrible. Where's a mess?
Roller coaster.
Yeah, it's terrible. But those people that we involved, in that process, just in top, those people that we involved make alleviate a lot.
It's usually about finding the right people.
It's finding the right people.
But you got to take action yourself. That was like this. I knew I had it in my mind, like I kind of wanted to do this. And then finally I just put it hard down. Like after the first year, it's coming.
Yeah.
And then it was after the first year and kind of talked about it still. And finally I was like, next week we're having it, or here we go.
Yeah.
And once you get started, it's downhill from there. I think kind of start learning more about it, become more passionate about it. Comes a little bit easier.
Yeah. Did you make a bunch of mistakes in the beginning? We sure did.
Yeah. I was lucky with the podcast. I mean, I've made a lot of mistakes throughout my life and other ventures, but I found the right person. And,
the right person.
And the right setup and everything. So,
yeah.
But I was on the road to make some mistakes and have a rocky
First
start.
time around, we didn't have the right people. And we made some mistakes and lost a lot of money.
Yeah.
In the process.
There's that saying I hear, I can't remember who said it. I think maybe Hermosi or something said it, but it's like when money meets experience, the experience gets the money and the money gets the experience. So basically, if you come in all young and bright, like, hey, we got $10,000, we want to make a TV show. Like somebody's gonna be like, awesome, we'll set you up. And then they take $10,000, you get no TV show, and you're like, not gonna do that next time.
Yeah, that's what we did. Yeah, but it was more like 50. But yeah.
So how about Tin Top? How did y'all come up with that idea? I think I've heard you don't even watch TV, right?
No, I've never owned. I just bought my first TV to watch the show when it came out. That was interesting. Oh my God. Because like we had a TV as a kid. I think my dad made it. It was like a kit TV thing. And so like, I'm like, trying to turn the freaking knob or, and my wife's like, no, there's internet on the TV, So yeah, I have a TV now. And so it was kind of birthed out of, a hole. There's an opportunity. There's something missing, right? And I think there's a place for family friendly and accurate and family friendly. And so you have to ask why I'm making the TV show. Like, why did I put myself in debt? Or why, in 10 years, I don't think we're going to exist. I'm too involved politically and I see too much politically and corporation-wise to believe that our way of life even exists in 10 years. From fake beef. I mean, we laugh about stuff like 3 years ago. They're like, cow farts cause what's not global warming anymore? What is it now?
Climate
what's
change.
happening? I don't know. Who cares? But cow farts, and you're like, that's the stupidest. Now it's just accepted now. Cow farts cause global change, climate change, or whatever, and you're like, that is the so people believe it like by the millions now, right? I don't think we're going to exist in 10 years. So if we portray the Western way of life positively, which I don't think it has been, then we can at least show the rest of the world why we're worth saving. So if we vilify and make absolute clowns out of that way of thought or lack of way of thought, if it's cool to be us and to live our way of life, maybe it's savable to the people in the city. Mm-hmm. I literally have met people. This is a joke. I buy my beef from the grocery store so that no cows die. I've literally met people who have said that to my face. They believe that. That's a real thing. Like, haha, that's really funny. No, that's real. People think that. That's insane. Mm-hmm. And so I think if we can do our part, I don't think educating people is effective. If education was effective, there'd be no vegans, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, vegans. Protein's kind of important. So if education was effective, there'd be no electric cars, right? I think that money, until the game changes, until the game's not dominated by money, then you better get some money and pass laws that protect you, right? That's another part of it. Supporting groups like Western Justice. David Duquette at Western Justice used to be the head of Protect the Harvest. Now he's doing Western Justice. That's our only lobbying group in the whole country that's fighting for us. Mm-hmm. And go ask him about the level of support from the Western community for the Western Justice. It's like that.
Yeah.
Versus the emotional support of groups like PETA, or the Humane Society of the U.S., whose annual budget for animals is what, 0.05%, I think, is their annual budget, something like 0.5, 0.05. Not very much. So I don't think education is the key necessarily. So what drives things in our culture? Popularity and money, right? So let's make the cowboy cool, and let's go fight on a legislative level. And I can't fight on a legislative level right now. I donate my $10 a month to Western Justice because it's all I got. But if I had a big fancy TV show, I bet I'd have more money to give to Western Justice.
Right.
So all those fights you see in Los Angeles for preventing the banning of rodeo, stuff like that, all their legal teams come from Western Justice. That's them. And they're the only ones fighting for us.
Yeah, I think everything is nowadays based on emotion instead of logic.
Yeah,
so
it's all emotion.
And you learn this. I've got in sales recently, and that's a big thing in sales. Is like, even if you have the best product there ever is that this customer needs, you can't just tell them the benefits and features.
No.
It's not going to sell them. What's going to sell them is like put them in that emotional state.
Yeah.
What if you had this product? What could you do? Blah, blah, blah. And it's all about emotion. And that triggers them and they buy or not. And the same way you see it in the election. People don't like Trump because it's emotional. Nobody cares about what he's saying. It's how he's saying it.
Yep.
Same thing with like Andrew Tate. He's saying what he's saying about being a man, being a strong man, a man of God, work out, get fit, make money. How he's saying it.
How he's saying it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so everybody's operating on emotion. And I think like our side, the Western world, we try to operate more on logic, so we don't know how to fight back.
Yep.
And you don't know how to make a 10-second TikTok video that gets 1 billion views, or you can get a message out there, or, it's a whole new game. And the Western world is usually several years behind.
Yeah.
On everything from mainstream. So, I mean, just like these fishing shirts, I wear fishing shirts almost exclusively. And for years, cowboys have, and it's because they're comfortable and they're nice in the summertime in Texas, you know.
Shirt.
And but it took so we all wore Magellans and Columbias or whatever, and it took the Western world. I don't know how long it's been, 5 years, 6 years, whatever. There's a huge market that we're going to Academy and buying stuff, and now Ariat and Wrangler and
till 2 years ago.
Yeah, they're like, hey, maybe we'll get we'll make some too. So you're super late, and the Western world is. We got to step up. The younger people, us, social media, getting it out there and putting it in a new light. Taylor Sheridan, I know he's like Yellowstone's not completely realistic. I mean, some of it, but he did shine a huge light on our industry. And you go to town and see people wearing cowboy hats that have no clue.
Right. That's the positive part of it. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know how many people have you murdered at your ranch?
Zero.
Okay. I'm at 2. So sorry, Bob, the FBI, he's always watching me. How's the wife? Yeah. So that's the only difference, right? So I just want to show what we do really positively and make this cool. 'Cause you're absolutely right. Emotions. That's what drives it. And then I have to be, really honorable with what comes from it and do something good with it. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Yeah. It's hard to, cause the negative gets so many eyeballs all the time. It's hard to try to get a positive message across where people will actually watch it and listen to it.
Getting people to watch this stuff on Instagram too, like getting Instagram to put your stuff forward. I feel like if I want to show a reel of Tin Top, like a scene, I should just put some boobs in front of it first and then put the reel behind the boobs.
Yeah.
Cause they won't show your stuff. And it's all a struggle. It's all a struggle. Yeah, something negative or a pair of boobs, it's about the only thing that gets views, so.
What are y'all, you've got like 1 million views on Tin Top, right, on the first episode?
Yeah, it went viral so we released it on social media on purpose. It's a crowdfunded show for the most part. We crowdfunded $60,000 and that's what we tell everybody we used, but we also, we took out $60,000 in loans too. To make it. So, but it's everybody's show. So I'm not going to charge any money for it. Right. So we put it on Facebook, X, Twitter, and, YouTube, and YouTube still grows every day, very slowly, like YouTube does, but Facebook caught hot and heavy real fast, just like we had hoped. Mm-hmm. And so that's it. Yeah. The Facebook post is at 950,000 views or something like that. And YouTube's got its, and the website and X, we're just over 1 million.
Cool.
Yeah. So that was the target. The main target was 1 million before I did anything. All I cared about was viewership because I want those numbers to walk into it, a streaming service or a network or something. I want to walk in with that because I'm not Taylor Sheridan. Mm-hmm. So I have no clout to walk in with. So we did. And that's where we're at right now. We just submitted it Monday to Angel Studios that did the Chosen, Sound of Freedom, and all their stuff. And it's the right timing for them, and it's the right timing for us. They're reeling off their Sound of Freedom success. And it just got submitted Monday to the Guild, the Angel Guild, and they vote on what goes on to funding. Mm-hmm. And the Guild is made up of, right now, 250,000 people that pay to be members of the Guild, which is what I'm asking every single person I know to do. It's $12 a month. I mean, cancel it in a month if you don't want it, but you'll get to go in and vote on whether Tin Top moves to funding. So, and it's not up yet. They 7 days for them, Angel, to watch the show and review it and make sure, make sure I didn't mess anything up What's
your vision with that? Like, where do you want to go with that?
10 years, like 10 seasons of Tin Top, 10 episodes a season, 10 to 12. Season 1, I've written 10 episodes.
And go over kind of the storyline of what, like the first episode at least, kind of what you're trying to put out there.
Well, we're just writing our own stories, right? So, 3 Marines come back together on a family-owned cattle and cutting horse operation in Texas. And my theory was, if we can heal our veterans, then we can heal every problem. You and I know, I know, every problem our world faces can be solved right now on America's ranches. From how to raise a family to how to run an ethical business, how to feed the world. We know that we have the answers to the problems. Like, they're on America's ranches, right? So if we can heal our veterans, we can heal them all. The ranch can, right? So it's just a family drama. Have you seen Heartland up in Canada?
Yeah, I know of it.
Cute show.
Yeah.
It's a cute show. It's a good show. It's been around a long time, like 17, 18, longest running show in Canadian history. Good show, but it is Canadian, and they can't get very deep into the issues in their communist country because of Canadian television. You can't say certain things on Canadian. You can't talk about Christian God on Canadian television. Talking about Allah, but you know, there's rules. So they didn't get very deep into the issues. Their horse work is pretty like what you would expect, horse whispery, you know. So the realistic stuff isn't there, but they did a great job. Like, they've done a great job on that show. And if we can blend between the two, have the production value of Yellowstone and the family positivity and the outcomes of Heartland, then I've hit my mark.
Going for like what was that, like 90s, early 2000s? I saw something about this the other day of like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and that was one I watched. Yeah, it was the best. I can't think of like some more that were back then. Every episode, it was like entertaining, but at the end, it was like, we'll learn some valuable life lesson.
No, that's very Touched by an Angel. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very Touched by an Angel. No, there's some long running, you know, there's violence, there's problems, there's it's all in there. Just take out the F-bomb, you know? Like,
Well, I think it's right now is like anything real and like authentic is a hit. Like you're saying with HorsePro, you're showing the whole thing. It's not like, hey, let's get this very gentle hybrid colt, and you know, we'll be cutting on them in a few hours here or whatever.
Right.
Maybe he's gonna buck, maybe he's gonna try to kill me, or you know, whatever. You're just gonna show the whole thing, however it happens.
Yeah, and also, if you know me and my my love for government, we're gonna go after the truth, you know. And it's funny, what I said 5 years ago, that people were like, the FBI is not doing that, Dusty. Now it's mainstream. People just say that stuff, that like, yes, our FBI is assassinating American citizens. The head of the CIA has tried to assassinate Julian Assange overseas. This is all public knowledge now that people just talk about openly, the same things I said 5 years ago. So I'm like, way to get there, you know? That's in the show. And it makes people uncomfortable, like Josiah, my DP, who got a call from a friend that was like, you need to be careful, you know? Like, so I get it, you know?
I always say, you know, I get in trouble. My wife and stuff say I have a big mouth, but I'm like, if it's the truth, then there's no reason I can't say it. I'm not spreading a rumor.
It's the truth. And look at Robert Kennedy right now. Robert Kennedy, who can't get a Secret Service detail from Joe Biden for his presidential run. His whole family's been assassinated by the U.S. government. Why do you think you can't get a Secret Service detail? What about right now? It's public. This is very real public information right now. Iran has been planning, caught, and still planning assassination attempts against Donald Trump. Did you know that? Working on it right now. Did you know that Joe Biden is currently flying Iranians into the United States at mass numbers? Why do you think that is? Maybe because our federal government is assassinating it. So that's people are saying that stuff out loud now. I said that 5 years ago, and I was a crazy man with a tinfoil hat, right? And now everybody's got a tinfoil hat, and I love it. I love the waking up. I love it. I love it. I love it. And that stuff's in the show. That's in there.
Just real life.
It's real. It's very real.
And where's that? YouTube, Facebook, I guess.
The first episode?
Yeah.
Yeah, YouTube, Facebook.
And then we'll see where the rest of it is.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes. It's my understanding and looking at the contracts and submitting to Angel Studios that it says right in there, Angel Studios, we reserve and would like the first rights at distribution. If that doesn't come to fruition, we will help you with the distribution. I think I can, I don't know yet. I think I can still produce the show, fund it, produce it, and sell it to Hulu. Or, right? Like, I think I still have options at that point. So I'm not sure where it would be distributed. Obviously, I'd love if Angel distributes it and it's a show on Angel's studio, their app, right? I want it released an episode a week or an episode every 2 weeks. That's why Netflix is a massive debt factory. I know what Netflix is doing wrong. They release all these shows and movies in mass consumption. People binge watch, and then they're leveraging. They don't pay you for like 2 years once you submit, or your show's there or whatever, because they're paying 2 years ago's person with your income. With what they gained off your show, and they're in massive debt all the time. I want to release like television. One episode at a time, and yeah,
it's a pain in the butt, but I think that's the way to do it, is to build the anticipation. Just like the old days before we had DVRs and streaming services,
you had to get together on Sunday and watch the show.
Sunday night, you're like, hey, so-and-so's coming on. Y'all come over. We're all going to eat at this time, and we're going to sit down and watch it.
Yeah. And when we released on live for the first time, we had a live event on Facebook. That was so freaking cool. People from all over the world were messaging me saying, we're having a watch party at our house. So in New Zealand, somebody's like, hey, we can't wait. We're having a watch party at our house today. And there's 20 people come over, and those numbers, that I have, those are, device, 1 million devices, TVs. My polling of people is like 2.5 people per device. I just don't say that because I don't have any proof, so a million's fine. That's plenty. But it could, might be 2.5 million people that have watched Tin Top right now. So, yeah.
That's a lot of people. It's a lot of eyes.
Yeah.
Just a funny question. Since you lived in your truck, if you were to live in another vehicle, what would it be? You pick any vehicle. What do you think would be the best one to live in?
That Jeep Cherokee was awesome. I could stretch way out in that thing. Those things run forever.
Good, like an older one, or
like you can't get like 2003.
2003,
yeah, like the 03s. Hers was purple. It was named Fern. Excuse me, and it ran and ran and ran. So yeah, I think some guys still
hook a bumper pull up behind it, and
she did. Yeah, she came down after me when I moved back to Texas. She had to finish her job. So she moved months later, and her mom and her drove, and then they hit this massive blizzard, and they're driving a U-Haul thing behind Fern, yeah.
What's your favorite horse? One that you've rode, and then just one that you like to watch? Or it could be the same one.
Yeah, well, there's a bunch that I've rode for all kinds of different reasons. Bart last year, this hashtags, he's just the coolest, sweetest stud boy. Or 2 years ago, it was his 2-year-old year, actually. Forgot it's 2024. Just the coolest, sweetest stud. We just loved him. Just so full of personality. All of our studs are, turned out together. So they're the study buddies, And every year it's like that. I won't have a stud in training if it's not turned out with another stud. And so they get so much personality, and the boys are so sweet, The girls are, like teenage girls. So they're all, the filly pasture's like plotting to kill you, and then the stud pasture every day, the studs I have right now, this highbrow cat, Colt, Bebe, every day I walk out there and he comes trotting up to me like, what are we doing today, Dad? I'm like, same thing we did yesterday. He's like, oh, golly, so Bart was cooler than heck. And this hashtag's Colt, rope horse now. And Pops was the horse I took to the futurity. And just an undersized horse with a big old heart. And he had a stricture in his colon, and he was predisposed to colicking. That stricture would collect, impactions. And he died as a 4-year-old. So I'd love to be on Pops again. But I could go down a list. So I could name off like 5 or 10. Horses I love to watch. Boy, I loved watching Rolls Royce. That was one. Hashtags. That was a fun horse to watch. There's a bunch.
Yeah.
A bunch of them.
So, since you didn't own a TV for most of your life, you have to have read a lot of books, I would assume.
You got time to read? I'll read like sports psychology books. Mm-hmm. Because I'm still playing sports, so I'm really into sports psychology and general psychology.
What would be like top 3 books or top couple books?
Yeah, there's one, Mind Gym. It just stuck out to me. This is like 15 years ago, but Mind Gym was one. And that's probably the first one that started me down that path of sports psychology. It's just something I want to master and understand, because in my own sport, I struggle with some psychology aspects of it. And I know in sports, once you reach a certain, once you're close to your ceiling, there's this separator of athletes, of people and horses, whatever it may be. There's this separator, and it's not skill. Mm-hmm. It's not skill. Like, I play hockey, so from from about AA pro, AAA to the NHL, they're all good enough to make it, right. There's something different. And it's the mental aspect of sports and performance, and so I study that pretty hard.
Yeah, the mental side of things, even cutting and on a horse, may even be more important, because you have to communicate through your horse.
That's where I learned that I had this problem. Was the first time I showed. I had no idea between guys who've shown forever, they're like, oh, there's no difference between showing and being at home training your horse and putting your hand down at home. I'm like, you got like 9 million in earnings. There probably isn't a difference anymore. But yeah, I remember the first time I showed, just blanked out, gone, and that continued to a varying degree, until I took care of it and learned. And what that is being in the zone. Right, when your surroundings slow down, and you could begin to control the environment in front of your eyes, that's being in the zone, right? In sports or cutting or whatever. And that's where I figured out I had this problem, and I did in cutting. It was I couldn't remember what happened in the cutting. I couldn't have told you what cows I cut. I couldn't tell you anything.
Yeah, I remember listening on Cow Horse Full Contact. I don't remember who it was, but one of those pretty successful trainers, and he was talking about like the first time he was, I don't remember if he was cutting or just in the herd work, same thing, but he said he came out there to the top and he had no cow left. They all
he had nothing spaced out.
Yeah. And it's funny. And then you get in there and like, I'll just be playing around or something. And if you don't focus in on something, it'll happen to you. You'll just be, I'm gonna get that one, and then there's nothing in front of you anymore.
Yeah,
it's you gotta get focused in and be in the zone.
It's a pretty cool thing. Yeah, I hope everybody gets to experience it when your environment slows to a crawl, and you're in a high speed situation. And this is combat, right? This is what happens in combat, being in the zone. Why can you focus when you're in those situations? I hope everybody gets to experience being in the zone in something, because it doesn't just slow down. If it slows down slower than reality, and then you begin to be able to you get to manipulate the environment.
Yeah.
That's what's happening out there. Lloyd Cox, I don't know if you know this about yourself, but that's what you're doing. You're out there manipulating the cows. You're not you're not playing defense. You're placing the pieces where they, that's why he looks so calm out there.
Yeah.
In the herd, is he's placing the pieces now. It's that slow in his mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is funny because I've been there before, like roping, and it's just like, I don't know, like I haven't mastered what triggers it or anything, but I've definitely had runs and done things to where, like, just like you said, like you go out there and rope and it's just like all smooth and like it's like an out of body experience. Yep. And then, I mean, the whole thing took place in 8 or 9 seconds or whatever. And then you're like, holy crap, what just happened?
Yeah. Yeah. So my pursuit in psychology is manipulating that. So I want to know how to enter it on command. And that's what I manipulate and pursue. And I study a few minutes every day on it pretty much. YouTube. God bless YouTube. So
You got to get sponsored by YouTube.
golly.
Change your life.
Yeah, no kidding.
I like on one of my favorite movies. Sports movies are great, very motivational. But one of my favorites is, and I'm not even a baseball guy, but for Love of the Game, and Kevin Costner, and he what he does when he's pitching it. Have you seen it? He says, "Clear the mechanism."
Yeah.
And it just,
Yeah.
and you,
Flow.
yeah. What's your favorite fast food?
I don't eat fast food.
You're just not going.
No.
That's a good answer. What about your favorite restaurant?
If it's got a steak, I eat a steak every single day.
I love
I eat
it.
like a ribeye every day.
I love it. I try to eat multiple. I'm eating mostly carnivore diet, so
Yeah.
steak, hamburger patties.
Yep. Steak, fruit, vegetables. Yeah. It's actually, I mean, it's good time to ask. So last night I had a bean burrito at a bar and some Pichos from the gas station. And then at 5 a.m. this morning, I woke up and puked everywhere and then threw up like twice more.
You're like, this is why I don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody posted on the Weatherford community page on Facebook the other day, and they're like, since when did McDonald's stop giving refills? And somebody's like, do you really need a 64-ounce Dr. Pepper? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about cancer in a cup.
Yeah. I
No
don't.
fast food.
You can definitely tell a difference in what you eat. Like if I eat bad now, I mean, I do every once in a while. And
Yeah. Bean burrito at a bar.
it's almost like, that was a terrible idea. It's
Yeah,
almost
the older,
like immediate
the older you
regret.
get. Yeah. When I was a teenager, we'd have corn dog eating competitions. I eat like 20 corn dogs, you know? My friends' parents were like going broke on corn dogs. That's what we survived on.
The state fair freezer corn dogs, just buying them out.
Yeah, the freezer corn dogs, you know. But I'm still playing sports, you know, very competitively, and I'm 41 years old, and so I'm playing with these, you know, semi-pro hockey players that are in their 20s and stuff, you know, and I gotta find
You
the
got to
edge.
find the edge somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, you can't do it.
What are some daily habits of yours? Maybe some like non-negotiables, or you work out or eat something, or
Yeah, I
Watch
got to
YouTube.
train every single day physically, mobility training. Yeah, I've got to train every single day. I've got to eat a steak every day. You know, there's 5 grams of creatine in a pound of red meat. Like that's where I get my creatine from. You know, so I don't feel good if I don't get like red meat in me. So there's non-negotiables, and I gotta sleep. I gotta get, like, I figured that out too. When you're young and you don't need sleep, you know, and you can function. I can't. My body just won't recover. I'll be in so much pain, you know. So I do sleep. Like we maximize every single waking moment of a day is not wasted because we don't watch TV. We won't sit around and do anything that isn't productive in a day. We'll maximize those 16 hours.
and then when you lay down, you sleep good.
We need to sleep. Yeah.
Do you think all that paying attention to your health has helped you in your horse pursuits?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been beat to shit. You know, I mean, we all have riding horses, you know. So I was team roping 10, maybe 11 years ago, and I just dallied and started to drag this steer just a little bit. And my pelvis just broke in half. Like you take your legs and go like this and pull them up. I broke the pubic symphysis, the cartilage and stuff, and just broke my pelvis in half, tore an adductor longus off my pelvis at a Volstoff and a Volgen fracture. You know, so like I've had my hips rebuilt in my 30s, you know. Like
That's pretty crazy.
We all been just beat to hell, you know. So yeah, you gotta take care of yourself. I shouldn't even be on a horse. I shouldn't be playing hockey.
Yeah.
You know, but because of mobility training and the health that because I pay attention to it, I'm still
Keep
here.
doing what you want to do.
Yep.
Where do where do you want to go with HorsePro and Tin Top? Like, what's your vision on that? You want to build it up, make money, and then, you know, give, like you talked about, give back to the right causes, or have some freedom?
Yeah, HorsePro has never made a profit. It pays the trainers, and they're making good money, and then the other half goes to, what does it go to, right? Website upkeep, marketing. It's never made a profit. And I don't care if it ever does, because it's such a valuable service, I think, based on what those members are telling me. Tin Top, yeah, I would love to see Tin Top be huge, profitable, very, very big, so that it can make a positive impact. Dave and I are working closely together at Western Justice. You know, a portion of the proceeds all go to Western Justice, or will when there's proceeds. Something more than my $10 a month. Yeah. And so I would love to see that happen, so that on a legislative level, we can affect some change and protect us. Yeah. Unless you've ever taken a vegan and educated them, and they walked away and said, you know what, I think I'm going to eat some meat after this. You know,
I've seen stories. I've never done it personally, but I've seen stories where they get so sick that they want to change. So
it's happened, but yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. Where can they find all this stuff, find you at, get in touch with you if they want to be part of the cause?
Yeah, HorsePro is just www.HorsePro TV. Tin Top is searchable on Facebook on the HorsePro page. It's just pinned right to the top. The episode is. It's on YouTube. It says world premiere of Tin Top, episode 1, I think, on the HorsePro channel. Mm-hmm. I'm on Instagram at Whitford Colt Co., but it's mostly just like me making fun of politicians, and I make fun of all of them equally. I'll make fun of every one of them. So be prepared.
Awesome. Well, y'all go give Tin Top a watch if you haven't watched it already. HorsePro is an awesome idea. If you're in the horse industry, if you're a trainer or you want to learn more, reach out to Dusty. See about becoming a trainer on there. If you're up and coming, if you want to learn more, go on there, learn all disciplines. And if you're listening to this and you want to watch it, it's on YouTube, The Wealthy Cowboy Show. If you can subscribe, if you can share, if you can rate and review on every platform, it means a lot. Just like Dusty, we're trying to get a positive message out there to everybody. The more you share it out, the more people can get something from it. So we'll see you next time.